Turning a bit of a controversy because should a prime minister be talking down about his country when he goes abroad? He spoke about scam India, unclean India, virtually claiming that he's the man who's changing the face of the country. Well, earlier I spoke to Lord Swaraj Paul, one of India's most prominent NRIs, to ask him that big question. What explains Modi magic with NRIs? You know, Lord Paul, wherever Modi goes, whether it's Europe, Canada now, of course, in Canada, earlier United States, what explains the fact that the Prime Minister is able to get such a great response from the NRI community?
Oh, very simple, Rajdeep. It's after 35 years, there has been a Prime Minister who has recognized the value and the contribution which NRIs can make to India. Because I have always maintained, in spite of all the establishment from the 1980s, calling all sorts of names to the NRIs, that NRIs are more pro-India, NRIs are more for India, and NRIs can do a lot for India.
You know, you're saying Mr. Modi is the first Prime Minister in 35 years who's really reached out to the NRIs. Are you saying that Indira Gandhi, whom you knew so well, was the last one? Are you saying that Modi has even outstripped Mrs. Gandhi when it comes to this NRI reach? How would you compare the two?
No, first of all, that is why I said 35 years, Rajdeep. It was the late Mrs. Gandhi and also the effort of her finance minister, who is the president now. They are the ones who really worked out to attract NRIs. And they went their way, but unfortunately, a specialist community shot that down.
You know, are you saying that Mr. Modi is such, his high profile approach of reaching out to the NRIs? Many believe that, that Mr. Modi is much more about marketing. It's all high profile. Today we saw this big event in Canada. It's all a glitzy approach. What explains the fact? Is Modi much more high profile compared to an Indira Gandhi of an earlier generation, earlier period?
I think there were different times for the country. Don't forget, in 35 years, this country has changed. We have had the failure of both Shining India and Incredible India. So this is the time. India, 35 years is a long time of the perception.
But do you believe that the NRIs will walk the talk? Do you believe that they are really now willing to invest in India? One thing, coming to a Modi rally in Canada, are they going to go beyond that, Mr. Paul, and actually cheer for their PM? Beyond cheering for their PM, will they invest in India? That's what I want to know.
Oh, without any question, but you must not lose sight of one fact. The NRIs are the best ambassador for their country, whether it's the Chinese overseas expatriates, whether it's Indian. NRIs speaking of India is a better job than any embassy or anybody could do for India.
But as I said, there are critics who maintain that, Mr. Modi goes and it's a lot of hype. Very good marketing, very skillful marketing, very good event management. But is there anything more beyond the hype and the marketing that Mr. Modi is actually able to achieve through these visits?
Look, these kind of remarks will always come, but let me put it this way. So far, he has done a marvelous job, which no other Prime Minister has done for last 35 years. And I have no doubt that the NRIs, I have talked to a lot of NRIs from the countries where he has been. They have been really impressed by his sincerity and honesty, and I am no exception to that.
Let me then ask you in conclusion, Lord Paul, what is it about Prime Minister Modi that appeals to you personally? At a personal level, what have you seen in the Prime Minister that actually appeals to you as an NRI?
His sincerity, his genuinely making NRIs feel that he considers NRI as part of India.
Let me ask you then in conclusion, I know that that there's every possibility that the Prime Minister will also come to the United Kingdom later this year. If you were to give one piece of advice to Narendra Modi ahead of a big visit to the UK, where Wembley Stadium could have even 100,000 people, what would it be?
At the age of 84, I long time learned never advise any prime minister. They wouldn't be prime minister if they didn't have their own thinking. And Mr. Modi carried a marvelous campaign. He has so far touched everything which the country needs. It's nice to know that a prime minister thinks of education, education of children. It's nice to know a prime minister thinking of environment. It's nice to know that the prime minister has thought of the poor man, not just the rich man alone, because India is far bigger a country than a few rich men.
Okay, I'm going to leave it there, Lord Paul. You clearly are bowled over by Modi magic. Thank you very much for joining us. So clearly, Narendra Modi is always striking a chord overseas. And